What's up, everyone? I just saw that this interview came out with Piers Morgan and Kanye West, and Kanye in here is apologizing for his allegedly anti-Semitic tweets that he posted on Twitter. I watched a couple minutes of this video so far, but I just thought that there are some key points to point out with all of this that we can all learn from, and it's just an interesting thing to observe. Most drama, I don't really like getting into that, but there's always something to be learned from all this kind of stuff. So if you don't know what's going on, let's just watch and see everything that they're going to talk about, and I'll review it. Full screen mode, you already know, and let's hop right into it.
You don't hold accountability to my pain. You're being a Karen.
I'm talking about. I'm not a Karen
to the pain.
I'm not a Karen, and I'm not going to cancel you, and I'm not going to uncensor you. I'm simply going to challenge you on what you're saying. I think you don't understand the pain that you've been causing with some of these comments, and I think that one in particular, I can understand.
Oh my God!
So first thing right here, just a quick thing, right? Kanye, as a Christian, a lot of people don't realize this, but that's blasphemy. That's blasphemy, right? OMG, that's bringing God's name down to a standard of either shock or disgust. But the name of God, right? Me saying that holds power, because God is the creator. We're so desensitized to how powerful he is, and that kind of brings us to this point where we don't really understand his true power and his true glory. So we use his name in all these sentences when really his name shouldn't be there. No judgment on Kanye, he's always developing in his faith. And all of us, we're not perfect, right? That's the whole point of what Jesus did. But just want to point it out because a lot of people do not really realize that.
God forbid, one comment could cause people to feel any of the pain that my people have went through for years. Even like the blacks being ushered to the left during the civil rights movement. No one has cared about black people.
All right.
No one is.
Let me say, I agree that the racism against black people has been utterly deplorable, shameful, unacceptable.
And I just also want to say, it's confusing, or it may be confusing because, first 50 seconds, it's a 5-minute clip, roughly. So there's not full context that we have here yet, right? Because I don't know if the full episode has released. It's just a small clip that I saw, so let's just watch through all of it. If it's confusing right now, because for me it certainly is.
And thank God the world is beginning to move to a better place about the way it has treated black people like you. However, it's one form of racism doesn't justify.
It's almost in a better place.
Well, one form of racism doesn't justify another.
It's not a better place.
I'm not cutting you off. I'm finishing my sentence so you can respond.
Now, this is a common thing that Piers Morgan has been basically surfacing onto the internet, like going kind of trendy in a sense, because he had on Andrew Tate, now he's got on Kanye. He's been surfacing up there, right? And a lot of people say he interrupts people, and I'd have to agree. A lot of the time he does, but in scenarios like this, I think it's justified, right? We have to be fair to him. Just being completely neutral in this circumstance, he was finishing his question. At other times in this interview, or other interviews, he may interrupt kind of rudely, right? But at least for now, we have to give him the benefit of the doubt in the fact that he was just trying to ask the question.
Racism. One form of racism. It is racism when you say I'm going death for Jewish people.
I was in a position where I've been hurt, and this is the way I had the right to express myself. The point of this interview is for you to question me, and then for me to answer and say, okay, even though the same rules are not applied to my people, if a person with a gun or drugs is pulled over and has 3 other people in the car, they're all going to jail. I'm not going to apply that to Jewish people for the sake of this conversation. Isn't that what you wanted? But you know what you did? You tried to civil rights me. You tried to pull me back to a week ago, but we're here today. There's been plenty of conversations and commentary since that, but you want me to go back to 1960.
No.
You want me to go back to 7 days ago.
All right, let me jump in. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to reflect.
Okay, so have we grown? Have we grown?
Here's how we grow. Yeah, here's how we grow. I want you to reflect.
No, have we grown?
Have we
grown? You're not in charge of my growth. You're not in charge of my growth, Chris.
Okay, let me phrase it like this. I'm about to suggest to you how you may grow if you choose to grow this way. And you can ignore me. You
Piers,
can ignore me.
Piers.
So I mean, obviously, right here, we've all had situations like this, right, where we get in some kind of heated argument. It's very important to try and withdraw yourself sometimes, and again, just take a couple deep breaths or whatever you got to do just to realize the fact of what you guys are arguing about. If none of you guys can hear one another or what you guys have to say, then it's pointless, right? You guys are just going to be going back and forth just like you're doing right here. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but just something to try whenever that situation may present itself again. Try and hear the other person out and try and keep it civil and respectful, right? One way you can do this is, again, you just hear them out, and then you could also find a common agreement, right? Before you start your argument, say, okay, we can have middle ground on this, we can have middle ground on that, we can agree on this and that. But then you go into, your opposition. But you at least, acknowledging that they have a point with something, or seeing or telling them that you see where they're coming from, that allows the civil discussion to be, overall a lot smoother.
How much money are you worth?
Not as much as you, sadly.
Exactly. So take my advice. Maybe you'll get richer.
I would love.
Now, this is the point where I stopped in the video, because we see this a lot of the time. We see this a lot of the time where people take, the statement of, oh, I'm smarter in this or I'm better in that. And so that they think that basically makes them better in all these other kind of categories, right? And again, not choosing sides with this, right? Not saying that Kanye is all wrong, not saying that Piers Morgan is all wrong. But him saying this with, oh, I'm more wealthy, so I can't really listen to you. That's just objectively not how you should be living your life, with this kind of high ground on someone where you can't even really listen to their thoughts and opinions or what they think that you should work on, right? You should always be open to that idea. Once again, Kanye is in a frustrated position, right? We can see where he's coming from with all of that. But again, it's just not a rational argument to say, oh, I'm better at this, so I must be, all-knowing in this category, right? Like, oh, I'm good at math, so that means I know all about investing, or that means I know all about politics, or that means, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really work like that at all.
Love to take your business advice.
Why would I listen to you?
Well, why don't you hear what my advice is and then work out if I'm wrong? Can we do that deal?
Well, the thing is, you haven't given me any credit or a moment of reflection for the comparison that I made, the brilliant, if I do say so myself, comparison that I made to the cops pulling over one black person and locking everyone up.
I understand what you're saying.
And my tweet having issues. Wait a second, I wasn't done with the sentence. My tweet referring to all Jewish people, I said, for the sake of this conversation, I will refer to the business people who have destroyed me and my people and my fellow creatives. But you didn't even accept that I gave you that. You tried to push me back into 19...
Again, it's pretty confusing with what Kanye's trying to say here, because, even from just what I'm interpreting, it doesn't seem good. It doesn't seem good with what he's saying, because now it seems like what he's saying is that, Jewish people are against him or something like that. Again, we don't know if that's really his message. There is still uncertainty with what he tweeted about. But sometimes it really just comes down to knowing your platform and knowing that whatever you say can and will be used against you, right? There's some sort of responsibility that you have. There's some sort of responsibility that I have on YouTube, right? And I have a small platform, so I can afford to make a mistake. But, with someone like Kanye, you have to be careful in your word choice, especially when you literally have the ability to delete that tweet before you post it, right? But now on air, with him saying something like this, it can easily be interpreted as something very, very wrong. So I think, it's very important to be more careful with your word choice, and to, take a step back and just analyze before you actually say what you're gonna say.
60.
No, I didn't.
You tried to push me back into last week.
No, I didn't.
Okay, do you accept that example that I gave you?
I understand completely the example you gave me. I think all racism is wrong.
So I feel that we've grown.
I would like you to reflect.
I feel we've grown. Do you feel we've grown?
If you've now changed what you wanted to say originally, my question for you is, do you now regret saying
I update
DEFCON
every
3
day.
on Jewish people? Are you sorry you said
So
that?
yeah, that was basically his tweet. DEFCON. He's like, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Again, I don't know if that's some sort of saying. Apparently, DEFCON is associated with like military defense more specifically. But you know, whether it was a play on words or whatever it was, that's what he said. I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Now, again, we still got a couple more minutes in this video, so let's just see what he has to say on that.
No, I think it matters. You should be.
Absolutely not. You know, I will say I'm sorry for the people that are hurt with the DEFCON, the confusion that I call. I feel like I cause hurt and confusion. And I'm sorry for the families of the people that had nothing to do with the trauma that I had been through, and that I use my platform where you say hurt people, and I was hurt.
Yeah. It's an uncensored interview. You said something which you've now wished you hadn't said, and you've apologized. I actually think that says a lot about you, right? That shows you've got that ability.
You know, you can tell he's like on edge with what he's saying, right? He just had that apology. Now he's kind of like, you know, he's split in between, right? But he did apologize. That's something that's, you know, very important, to have that humility and to be humble and to bring your overall, you know, moral high ground down for a second, to give that apology when it is actually the rightful thing to do. But again, right now it's kind of confusing with where his actual stance is.
To be self-aware, to understand when you cross a line. I think someone like you, with all your energy and creativity and your passion, you're going to say stuff. The way that you talk constantly and in such an extraordinary manner, you're going to trip up. You're going to say things the wrong way. I don't think there's anything wrong in, when you do that, doing what you just did and saying, look, I'm sorry, I crossed a line, I apologize.
I want to say that it's wrong to hold an apology hostage, and I got to let go of that and free myself of the trauma and say, look, I'm just going to give it all up to God right now, and say to those families that are hurt, you know, I really want to give you guys a big hug, and I want to, I say I'm sorry for hurting you with my comments, and I want to word it in not in like a political way, but in a presidential way, which means what I knew a president to be when I was growing up.
All right, so that was it right there. Again, a few takeaways that we can get from it. Obviously, it's drama. We don't always need to be looking into this, because honestly, it does not affect our lives. So it kind of depends on whether you want to take something from this, but I definitely think that there is something to be learned from all of it.